celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's January 10th, 2020, and here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market front over there in Asia, it was mixed. Over in Europe, it was down. In the States, it was down. So what would happen over here to bring the markets down? Well, the employment numbers came out. Stocks fell on Friday, reversing from all-time highs as investors digested weaker than expected jobs data to end the volatile week full of geopolitical concerns. So the U.S. economy added 145,000 jobs in December. They thought they'd add 160,000. There were some lower job revisions. But the real news is wages. They only went up 2.9% on a year-to-year basis. Economists had expected a gain of 3.1%. So, why aren't wages going up? Well, you know why, as Trends Journal subscribers, my 5 O's. Overpopulation. They got too many people and not enough jobs, not even close. And now as robotics and artificial intelligence take over, less and less work for more and more people. So, that keeps wages down. Overcapacity. Yep. They got more capacity to make stuff than the people could ever buy. This is keeping inflation down. Again, overproduction. They made more stuff than people could actually consume. And online, that's brought down the prices. We just saw a whole bunch of retailers, Macy's, Gap, others, closing stores. Can't compete. And open markets. You got all that slave labor over there, working for almost nothing. That keeps inflation down. That keeps wages down. The 5-0 formula. As a Trends Journal subscriber, you know what that means. History before it happens, we look at things like nobody else does. Fed signals exit from repo market this year. Federal Reserve Vice Chairman Richard Clarida said the U.S. Central Bank was sticking to its guns and expecting to reduce its intervention in the short-term borrowing market soon. You know what that is.
That is bullshit.
That is bullshit because Fed injects $83.1 billion into the markets. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York added $83.1 billion into temporary liquidity to financial markets Thursday. Financial markets for the gamblers. That's all this is cheap dough. Going back to what they're talking about, the Fed exiting the repo market. Here it is. Mr. Clarida told an audience in New York, quote, "It may be appropriate to gradually transition away from active repo operations this year, as it increases money into the system via the alternative method of rebuilding the central bank's balance sheet." And they've injected billions of dollars in daily and short-term loans into repo markets where investors exchange high-quality collateral such as treasuries for cash. They're not investors. They're gamblers. And they have a bad addict. And they can't kick it. So they keep pumping in more monetary methadone. That's the way of the Fed. And it's the way of the world. 2 Fed leaders say rates can hold. Well, you know what that is.
Bullshit.
You got it. By this time next year, negative to 0 interest rates. Because, dun, 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 regardless what the Fed says, World Bank, gloomy. Despite U.S.-China hopes, the easing of U.S.-China trade tensions is unlikely to lead to rapid improvement in the global economy, the World Bank has said as it released a gloomiest of forecasts. How long have I been saying this? How long have I been saying the trade deal means nothing? It's a global slowdown. The details are here. More of it in your Trends Journal, which will be going out next week. The new Trends Journal. The reasons why the markets are going down. How low they're going to go. And what you can do to consider staying ahead of the curve. Don't go down with the markets and go up with the trends that are positive. Because rise in risky corporate debt poses stability concerns. Researchers at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York warned that an increase in sales of riskier corporate debt pose, quote, a financial stability concern, noting that an economic downturn could force investors to dump assets en masse. You ready for this? Just two companies in the U.S., Johnson & Johnson and Microsoft, still have a pristine AAA rating, the researchers said. And so they're buying junk bonds because you get more dough by taking a higher risk. But again, they're pumping all this cheap money. Companies borrowing more money, gambling more. The bubble is building. It's only going to be a matter of time before it bursts. And what could burst it? Well, you know. Yeah, something like the Iran war. As the Middle East heats up, oil prices escalate, they rise. Oil prices were down today. Gold prices are up. Oil prices went down despite the volatility in the Middle East. And you know why? Because business is slow. Less demand. And guess what? The U.S., that driving season is going to slow down a lot. Inventories are building more. So even with the tensions, oil prices have backed off. Again, global slowdown. China car sales extended slide into 2019. The number of passenger vehicles sold in the world's largest auto market slipped down 7.4% year-to-date from 2018. Remember, I've been going over the auto sales in the Trends Journal and in the Trends in the News reports. Auto sales are important because that's one of the biggest investments that people make outside of buying a house. German exports fall. Adds to gloomy prospect. You're going to see lower interest rates. You ready? You know what they're estimating the growth in Germany? Now this is, one of the biggest economies in the world. Most advanced manufacturing. Full year figures for German economic growth are due to be published Wednesday. They're expected to show meager growth at 0.5% in 2019. That's like no growth at all. European stimulus hope cheers investors. More cheap money, more cheap money. Signs that European governments may loosen their purse strings are getting investors hope that regional stocks, which had a banner 2019, could drive higher again this year with more cheap money and putting governments deeper into debt. They'll do anything to keep their high. And on the geopolitical front, over there in France, it just keeps going. Protesters back longest transit strike in France. Millions of people flooded streets on Thursday to show support for what has become the longest transport strike in French history. They're protesting against Macron, the Catzon, who only loves the very rich, to cut their pensions and benefits and anything they could do to steal more money from the system to give it to the bigs. Off with their heads 2.0 right there in France. Look how the people are fighting over there. But in America, Everybody marches in order. No protests. Russia and Turkey call for Libya truce. This is from the Financial Times. I'm mentioning that because I want you to check out the language. Russia and Turkey have called for a ceasefire in war-ravaged Libya as the two powers sought to deepen their influence in the North African country where they back opposing sides. War-ravaged Libya. War-ravaged by the Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, Barack Obama, along with Hillary Clinton, Samantha Power, Susan Rice. Yep, war. Destroyed the richest nation in Africa, where they had more rights than anywhere else. War-ravaged. But we gotta watch them Iranians, I says. They're the worst terrorists on earth. Oh, yeah. And look what they did to Syria and Yemen. Now, but these are only facts. Why deal with those? We got propaganda to sell, and the people are swallowing it. EU and Gulf states call for restraint after attacks. Governments from Europe and the Gulf have condemned the Iranian missile strike against U.S. forces in Iraq, launched in retaliation of the killing of a military commander, Soleimani, and urged the Iranian government to avoid escalating the conflict. So here's the deal. It's okay for the United States to kill anybody, kill as many people as you want, any place, anywhere, based on lies. How sick has this society become? All of these disgusting politicians, one after another, calling out Iran. Here we have it over here. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas called on Iran to, quote, refrain from all steps that could lead to further escalation. Take your punishment. Yeah. Don't fight back. America only has the right to kill, as does NATO, because you slimers also destroyed Libya. Yeah, Sarkozy, Holland, and from Holland, the Dutch too, everybody. Bombs away over a country that did nothing to anybody. Yeah, but they only has the richest oil deposits around the area. I think it costs like 50 cents a barrel to pull the oil out. But again, they were there just to bring freedom and democracy, I forget. And then the British and French counterparts issued similar statements, both condemning the missile strikes and pressing Iran to refrain from further actions. Our priority, more than ever before, should be de-escalation, said France's foreign minister. The cycle of violence must stop. Hey, Slimer. Hey, you little low-life piece of garbage. Look what you're doing in Mali, you French. Oh, you forgot that Hollande started that war back in 2012, end of 2011. Yeah, we need that uranium over there in Niger and all those other resources, and we miss colonizing Mali as we did before. The hypocrisy here is astounding. But of course, very, very common, because that's all they are, murderous hypocrites. Jens Stoltenberg, NATO's Secretary General, condemned the Iranian missile attack and called on Tehran to refrain from further violence. Yeah. The hypocrisy. They can murder anybody that they want. They can't fight back. Proud day for Iranians in retaliating against the U.S. That's the headline in the Toilet Paper Record. I mention this because President Trump said no Americans were killed in the attack, but some Iranians did not believe him. Iranian state media reported that 80 American soldiers were killed and more than 200 injured. So I wonder what the truth is. Oh, they'll tell us the truth in America. They always do. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. Yeah. One lie after another. Important. I've been saying that the United States invades Iran, attacks Iran. It's the beginning of World War III. These are not the Iraqis. They're not the Syrians. They're not the Yemenis. They're not the Afghans. These are the Iranians, the Persians, very intelligent people. Iran showcases advanced missile arsenal out of or from the Wall Street Journal. The Iranian strikes on Iraq military bases that housed U.S. troops, along with Saudi missile and drone attacks attributed to Iran in September, demonstrated a missile arsenal with a sophisticated accuracy and reach capable of threatening and deterring the country's adversaries across the region. Got it? And barrage left little damage, but Iran has deadlier weapons. From the Terret paper record. American military and intelligence officials. What intelligence? They got the intelligence of an imbecile, a moron. What have they ever provided us with that brought peace or prevented 9/11s? American military and intelligence officials were stunned at the boldness of what they later concluded was an Iranian attack, meaning what just happened. Talking about the sophistication of the weapons. Oh, and now they're saying U.S. allies say Iran shot down jet in Tehran. You know, just as all this was happening, that plane was flying from the Ukraine to Iran or from Iran to Ukraine was shot down. U.S., Canadian, and UK officials, official pieces of garbage, believe that a Ukrainian commercial aircraft that crashed shortly after takeoff from Tehran on Wednesday, killing all 176 people on board, was downed by a missile system fired by Iran. They believe. They believe. Hey, we believe it. Could you show me any proof? Oh, yeah, we'll put some phony little pictures together that show nothing. We have a high level of confidence that this was shot down by Iran. Confidence. Could you show us any proof? Confidence, con man. Got it? House approves resolution opposing use of force against Iran. The House passed a largely symbolic measure opposing further military force against Iran without congressional authorization. Nothing. A show. A worthless piece of crap. This is disgusting to me that we have one person, El Presidente of los Estados Unidos, deciding what I'm going to do. I'm going to do anything I want to do. All you other 327 million people out there, go screw yourselves. I'm the leader of America. And put a K in that, take out the C. I was not put on this earth to take orders from a clown like Trump, a slimer like Obama, a murderer like Bush, another murderer like Clinton, and on and on. Are you? This is not my America. My America is the Constitution, and they are in direct violation of Article 1, Clause 8 of the Constitution. They're doing anything they want. That Congress could change it like this is a disgrace. But that's what they are. The Repulsivekins and the Democrats. True disgraces. Because, as they talk about all them dirty deeds about Iran, oh, the murderers of the world, yeah. U.S. drone strike kills 60 Afghan civilians. This won't even make the mainstream media. 60 civilians bombed. And they have the nerve, all of these disgusting individuals. You know, that guy Soleimani, he should have been killed anyway, but I'm a Democrat and I say, well, we should have a little bit of authority in saying when and how to kill him. That's what they all have done, except for very few. No mention of America's slaughter that continues in Afghanistan. And what else do we have over here? Oh, you know that resolution that they just passed? The phony one? This is how it began. The government of Iran is a leading state sponsor of terrorism and engages in a range of destabilizing activities across the Middle East. The resolution that they just passed, this is the way it begins. The government of Iran is a leading state sponsor of terrorism and engages in a range of destabilizing activities across the Middle East. Oh, they just killed, how many people America just killed? Destabilizing? Oh, what did I just talk about? What's going on with war-ravaged Libya? Oh, the United States just, Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, Iraq. And that's the way they lead this off. Iranian General Soleimani was the lead architect of much of Iran's destabilizing activities throughout the world. Iran's destabilizing activities, these are the Democrats. They're the ones that push this through, and that's their language. What happened to the anti-war people? What happened to the people with a brain? Fact after fact that the United States has killed millions of people based on lies. And get back to work, everybody, because we've got to steal your trillions of dollars to do it. And what else do we have here? Finally, Epstein's cell video is lost, prosecutors say. You know that guy Jeffrey Epstein that hung himself? Video footage of the area around Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell on a day he survived an apparent suicide attempt, quote, no longer exists. Oh, it's not a conspiracy theory. Believe everything they tell you. Yeah, you're an American. You're taught right from kindergarten, or I should say to preschool, don't think for yourself, believe the crap, and swallow the propaganda, or tune into the truth, the Trends Journal. The only magazine in the world like it in the world. We tell you what's going on, what it means, and what's next. History before it happens. That's some of today's trends in the news. A lot more coming out in your Trends Journal.